guys, follow me on Instagram to never ever miss any of my crazy updates. Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I'm riding this. This is the new KTM RC 200 which has come 7 years after the first generation model, and everything has changed on it except the engine. Okay, now you can see this is very much Duke inspired. It gets all LED lights and indicators are now inside. This is a new unit, which is the windscreen of course, which is more aerodynamic, and the mirrors, they close properly as well. So people who like Pulsar 220 or own them will definitely give this bike an approval. So you can see the design is very different from before. It's like completely different, little bit polarizing in pictures, slightly polarizing in real, but it's more comfortable now. You can see the height actually seems a bit increased as such. However, ground clearance and seat height remains more or less the same. Now they've actually reduced the weight of this motorcycle by around 3 kgs thanks to the wheels. The alloy wheels are lighter now, and the chain sprocket is also lighter now, and the overall difference is I think 3 kgs lesser. But KTM claims that it's still robust. In fact, the rims are even stronger now, and even the discs have been changed to become lighter, but these are bigger. So this happens to be a 320mm unit, and you can obviously see the ABS ring as well. Says RC200 here. The color scheme is actually quite nice, but it feels a little hefty and क्या बोलूँ, मतलब थोड़ा मोटा लगता है आगे से. So coming to the rear, that exposed monoshock suspension, aluminium swing arm, rear disc is the same size, which is 230mm. You get 150 section tire at the rear, 110 at the front, so the tire size remains the same. Of course, the engine remains the same, but it gets a split trellis frame, so there's some difference there. The pegs have been changed as well, and that's not it. It gets a new instrument cluster. The seat is new. The tank is bigger. The older one had a 9.5 litre tank. The new one has a 13.7 litre tank. Okay, from the rear, the lights have also been revised. It says ready to race. Nobody's going to be able to read it, to be honest. And you get this tire hugger and a sari guard, of course, mandatory things. The seats are very comfortable. You can see the design of the seat is also quite nice. In fact, they've gone for comfort. So this becomes a sports tourer. They obviously have an adventure tourer in the form of the 250 and the 390 adventure bikes. I'm just going to turn it off so that I can show you the cluster when I turn it on. And there, when I turn it on, it does a full swipe up. This is coming from the 250 adventure. Of course, the cluster, we're going to turn on the motorcycle engine kill switch, and here we go. There it kind of rose to life. Sounds a little different from before, and it's a very loaded cluster, so you can press this button to browse through a lot of information. Yeah, it is loaded to the brim. In fact, if I press this lower button, I can see a lot of this particular trip meter as well, data inside the trip meter. So yes, very loaded cluster, and in fact it has got a supermoto mode because it comes from, of course, the 250 adventure. So there is a road mode, and the other mode happens to be off-road mode. What? I thought it's going to have a supermoto mode. Anyways, that is probably reserved for the Dukes, of course. So cluster looks nice, and the regular switch gear. This is now higher by around 14.5mm. I mean, compared to the global model, and compared to the older model, it's again 10mm higher. But you can actually go to a KTM service center and get this lowered if you want a more aggressive riding stance. This is slightly more upright now. What do you guys think about the design of the KTM RC 200? I think it looks fresher, but not really better. Let's start riding. But before that, let me rev the nuts out of the motor, and here we go. Okay, I can feel a little bit of vibes on the mirrors, whose shape is more about design than functionality, and it has a curved radiator. I think few things have changed here and there, but crucially, how's the riding experience? You can actually open this and put your mobile phone, but why would you want to do that? Let's start riding right away. All right, we are all set to go. Haha, full swipe up, and it says ready to race. Oh my god, the foot peg is so rear set, and here we are. 45 in first gear. The peg position is very rear set as such, but that's an RC thing which is quite expected. I'm sitting so tall up right now because of the change in the clip-on bars. Handling seems more or less the same as before, in spite of the fact that they've gone softer on the suspension, and the engine is actually quite free and fast revving as well. So this is a 199.5cc single cylinder. It's a liquid cooled motor, 4 valve, the same thing which you have seen since so many years. I think maybe 10 years or so, almost. Yeah, 9 years. Gearbox is actually slick shifting. The clutch is also on the lighter side, and there's good feedback on the front end. Beautiful, like really nice. And the bike actually feels quite practical now. First and foremost, it doesn't sound like a rickshaw anymore. It sounds less of a rickshaw now because kind of sounds smooth and refined. In fact, vibrations are very well curtailed. I can't feel any vibes either, yeah. Only in the top end, obviously. In the top end near the red line, obviously you feel vibrations because this is a single cylinder motorcycle. Here I'm going to be riding in a higher gear just to see how practical it is. We are in 5th gear, almost 60 kilometers per hour. Engine feels nice and composed. It gets a bigger airbox. The radiator is now curved for better breathing. The airbox is bigger for better breathing. Although performance hasn't changed from before, more or less remains the same, which means 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in around 10 seconds. Now this engine actually produces 25.4 horsepower at 10,000 rpm and 19.5 newton meters of torque, which comes in at 8,000 rpm. The result is that it is actually a very fun motorcycle to ride, but has become quite practical and comfortable as well. The thing which was lacking in the RC has now been resolved, which means that actually it's pointless to ride in a higher gear because this bike does not have a good low end punch. Yeah, it lacks a low end, it lacks a mid range as well. So I would say low end is quite lacking here. Mid range is actually decent or rather good enough, but top end is where it's very exciting a bike, and then you have to shift through gears very fast to really enjoy this machine. It says average fuel consumption 38 kilometers per liter, so fuel efficiency is somewhere between 35 to 40 kilometers per liter depending on your riding style, but you can go longer thanks to the bigger fuel tank right now, which is also a good touch. So I'm going to do one thing, I'm going to stop and we're going to launch the F out of this bike to see how does it go. Is it as frantic as before? I don't think so, because everything feels so much more calmer, smoother, refined and just more composed. Is that a good thing? I fret not, it's not. KTM is becoming a Honda. Why? Okay, into first gear and off we go. First gear 46, second gear 63, into third 84, into fourth 104, into fifth 124, and then it will do in 6th gear 137, 140 almost. So yeah, performance is more or less the same as before. Nothing much has changed in that regard. But yeah, it's a likable bike. Only thing is that I would suggest get the RC390. It just is so much more fun because the RC200 has lost its character. It doesn't feel that frantic, which was the case with the older bike, especially the original Duke. Now that was like madness. It used to rev so fast, scare the puff out of you. This one does not. It's like okay, chal raha hai kaam, theek hai, hum aapko tez le jayenge, but you don't feel that. It feels good in the top end, but then it also redlines so fast now that you don't realize kab kya hua, and it's almost finished as well. That's how fast it is. But it's still a fun motorcycle nonetheless, but it still costs a lot of money. It's like 2.44 lakhs on road Mumbai, and for that price I would expect a lot more performance. They should offer the RC250 at the price of the RC200. I'm sorry, but that is what should be the case. Now, easy to filter through traffic. The mirrors are actually very wide. I mean, they make the bike really wide, but you know what, they don't give you a great view of what's around. I can see a little bit of my hands and wrists, but not really comfortably what's around me because of the mirrors not really showing me what I need to see as such. Now, there are some discrepancies in this motorcycle in terms of the modes. Some bikes are showing supermoto, some bikes are showing off-road, although both mean the same. They turn off rear ABS and off we go. 10,500 rpm red line, and I am going to duck, and when I duck I realize aerodynamic efficiency is actually quite nice. Wind blast is also reduced, but for me to duck I really need a six-pack ab properly, otherwise it's so difficult for me to duck because the tank is actually high. The clip-on bars are also higher, which helps in maneuverability in spite of the soft suspension. Handling is actually quite nice. The brakes are also good, and I also particularly am impressed by a lot of things on this bike, how they've made it more polished and smooth. So if you're a person who's looking for smoothness, you should not be riding a motorcycle. You should probably be driving a car. But if you're someone who's looking for fun on a motorcycle, the RC200 is a little bit disappointing in that regard. It doesn't feel the way it should, the way the older bike felt. It doesn't make you feel that way either. I just am wondering, why did Bajaj kill the character of KTM's, yeah, by going smoother and more refined? It was not needed, yeah. It was just not needed. I mean, I can pick it up in 4th gear. Why? I don't need to do that. I want to downshift to 2nd and push it hard. That's something which I'm really missing on this bike at the moment. Okay, maneuverability and all is fine. It's a good thing that, you know, unlike the R15, your wrists do not touch the tank, so you find it quite easy to do that without any fuss whatsoever. Ride is much better than before because suspension travel has increased by 10 mm at the front, but still it's not the most compliant, but it's much improved from before. Trust me, they have made so many improvements on this bike, made it more practical and comfortable without a doubt. I can feel some vibes on the top end, in the top end rather, and that is on the handlebar, of course, the clip-ons, along with some on the tank. The ones on the tank, the vibrations I mean, are actually quite enjoyable. It feels like a massage around your so you won't object to that for sure. So guys, this is my vlog of the KTM RC 200. A great step up in terms of a lot of things, but a little bit too disappointing for me personally. It doesn't have the character, and on that disappointment it's time to end. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this vlog, make sure to give the thumbs up, that's the like button, and also subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Bye bye.